Hello everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and I've kept it off for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitation in your weight loss and weight maintenance. Today we're going to posit the question, is it good for you to join an exercise group? Now before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also check out my website, which has hundreds of articles and recipes that might be useful to you. Also check out my 2 books, which you can find on Amazon. And lastly, if you appreciate my content, there's a link for PayPal. Now, should you join an exercise group? As I drink my green tea mixed with apple cider vinegar, go check out the series I have, 20 kitchen items that have helped me with my weight maintenance in green tea and apple cider vinegar in that. So is it beneficial to join a weight group? And what do I mean by an exercise group? So this could be like a CrossFit group. This could be a running group. This could be a aerobics group. This is just doing exercise with other people. And I would tell you, like with a lot of things here, yes, but ultimately it's not going to guarantee your weight loss and weight maintenance. Now hear me out. Some people, like myself, are loner worker outers, if that's a word. I don't like to talk to people. I have that episode of Pet Peeves on the track, and I've seen people who just are barely running because they're talking. And so when you're talking to somebody, you're just going to slow down the pace, either because they're slower or because it's just human nature to go slower when you're talking. Just kind of like when you're watching a show on the elliptical, you're just going to go slower. So I like to just like music, I'm in my own world. But there are a lot of people who aren't like that. They can't do that. Now, I can't relate to that, just like I can't relate to people who can actually run without any music or who can run listening to a podcast or something like that. But I'm also sensitive to the fact that there are people who need that motivation. So they need to be with a group of people. And I think whatever works for you, if that's going to get you out to exercise, then that's great. Then absolutely do it. So, find these people on meetup sites or at the gym that have classes or whatever it is. So if you need to be around like-minded people who are doing the same thing you are, that's great. And there's benefits to that because you're kind of in it together. I think you see this best played out in CrossFit groups. CrossFit groups are very close, right? And I've talked about here, like, what's the ideal exercise? I don't have a problem with CrossFit because it kind of implements high intensity interval training, which is ideally the best thing because you're shocking the body and you're moving the body. So the benefits is like you get this collegiality, right? You know the people there, you're all in it together, you all kind of congratulate each other. And when one of you succeed, or if you're doing competitions like you might see at CrossFit, you're all supporting each other. And I think that's great because there are people who need that. There's people who won't get off the couch and work out unless they're in a group, unless they're getting this validation and also accountability. Like, hey, you didn't come yesterday, or hey, your times are slow. Let's work on it. They say it in charity, let's work on it, come on. And that might motivate you. So I think there's nothing wrong with that, especially if the exercise is good. Now, if you're doing like, I don't know, Zumba or something that's low intensity, it's like, well, maybe go join a group that's more high intensity. But whether it be a running group or cycling group or even training for a half K group or a triathlon group, whatever it is, that's great. But here's the thing, just like I talked about in the episode with why New Year's resolutions fail. And when I talk about it and on fad diets is ultimately you might lose weight joining these groups, but most of the time you're not going to be in these groups for 25 years. Like my mother was in a bowling group with her friends for 20 years. And bowling is an exercise. My point is like there are times where then they would meet every week and they'd compete with other women and so forth. And like in competitive bowling leagues, what bowling leagues are like. So chances are you're not going to be in your CrossFit group because CrossFit's expensive or whatever for the next 25 years. So yes, being in these groups might help you lose weight. But then what are you doing in 6 months from now? What are you doing a year from now? What are you doing 10 years from now? And ultimately it goes back to the same theme that is pervasive on this channel is you got to disassociate emotions from food. You have to not have a disordered relationship with food. Because all this other stuff is stopgap. This is why 80% of people who lose more than 50 pounds in their lifetime gain it back, right? Because we can crash diet, but weight maintenance is infinitely harder. It's infinitely harder because you have to fundamentally change your paradigm on how you view food, how you view exercise, how you view sleep, everything. And weight maintenance is 1,000 little steps every day. And so the exercise stuff might get you to get in shape, but ultimately isn't going to change what's the psychological impediment. And everybody who's overweight has a disordered relationship with food. So whether it be the childhood trauma, which I think the majority of obese people have, or whatever it is, you got to do the deep work and figure it out and disassociate, break that tie, like throw the ring into the fire, like in Lord of the Rings. You got to go deep into and do the deep work and extricate, disconnect whatever nurturance you get from food. So food is just, I should say emotional nurturance, because food really is just supposed to be nurturance. I eat when I'm hungry, like a 5-year-old does, and I stop eating when I'm not hungry. But those of us who have disordered relationship with food, right, we'll keep eating because we'll eat when we're sad, we'll eat when we're angry, we'll eat when we're stressed, we'll eat when we're happy. And we just eat to feed that emotional nurturance that we need to numb the pain that we have from childhood or whatever trauma it is. So that's what you need to do. And luckily we have online therapy. There's a lot of sites out there that you can go unlimited therapy or whatever it is, get a spiritual advisor. Whatever it is you got to be introspective, retrospective, do the deep dive and disconnect that. Because ultimately that is the key to long-term success of weight loss and weight maintenance. So in the short term, in the interim, yeah, do group exercise if that's something that works for you. Guys, post in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.